Hey, howdy everyone. Hope you're doing well. My name is Tony and I'm a certified Elliott Wave Analyst Master through Elliott Wave International. I am also an educational sensei at Trade Devils University. And while discussing the Elliott Wave Theory with one of the members, I kept referring to a page in the book, the Elliott Wave Principle by Frost and Prechter. And we noticed some of the material I was referring to in my book was missing from his book. Come to find out, I was working from a 10th and 11th edition. Well, he had the newer version, which is the 12th edition. This video idea spawned from that, so I ordered the version of the Elliott Wave Principle and made sure it was the 12th edition so I could compare and contrast the two. Now, in the past, changes have occurred between the different editions of the book. One of the biggest changes I remember is disallowing flats as a subway of a triangle. So things do change and evolve as I continually study the chart, it seems. Well, I just received the 12th edition, and while scanning the book, I did find several changes. Some were a little more mundane, like spacing and font differences, but there were also some larger changes as well. One being the layout on pages 126 and 127 as an example. And these are the actual changes the member and I were initially discussing before we found out the discrepancies between the two editions. But the biggest of all the changes, in my opinion, and at the risk of being extremely late to this revelation compared to some, was on page 88. Before I go into the differences, I just wanted to let you know all the reference materials comes from Elliott Wave Principle by Frost and Prechter 10th through 12th editions, as well as the Elliott Wave International website. There, you can see a digital version of the book just by signing up for a free account. Also, if you are interested in learning more about the Trade Devil University method of analysis, or just want to talk Elliott Wave Theory with EWI certified Elliotticians, check out the website and join the free Discord. I'll leave the links in the description below. So anyway, back to page 88. This page and the previous both discuss the rules and guidelines of the diagonal pattern. Here's the older version from edition 11, and here's the newer version. When I put them side by side, you can visually see the changes. When I break it down, these are the major differences I found. Alright, so what I've done here is removed all the comparable rules and guidelines between the two editions and just kind of broke down what's actually new and being said in version 12. So we're just going to read through these and kind of see what it's telling us. Rules. In the contracting variety, wave 4 is always shorter than wave 2, and wave 5 is always shorter than wave 3. Now in edition 11, there was a line within this sentence that stated wave 3 is always shorter than wave 1. That has now been omitted. In the expanding variety, wave 4 is always longer than wave 2, and wave 5 is always longer than wave 3. Again, there was a line in the old editions, 10 and 11 at least, that stated wave 3 is always longer than wave 1. That has now been omitted from edition 12. Guidelines. Wave 4 usually ends within the price territory of wave 1. Now this used to be a rule, and it used to state wave 4 always ends within the price territory of wave 1 with a little asterisk next to it. That verbiage has now changed to state wave 4 usually ends within the price territory of wave 1. It has been moved down to the guidelines section. Some other guidelines that kind of piggyback on these new rule changes up here. In the contracting variety, wave 3 is usually shorter than wave 1. In the expanding variety, wave 3 is usually longer than wave 1. So what this is basically telling me, in the new edition, wave 1 no longer has a rule attached to it that states it has to be a certain length comparable to wave 3. Wave 1 no longer has a certain length requirement. It can be any length in either of the variety. Again, that is just a guideline, and we should be looking for what usually happens to be more confident in our count. But right now, this is stating there's no more rule. There's nothing to really invalidate. If it's longer or shorter, depending on the variety, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually invalidate the pattern at this point. And again, with this wave 4 usually ending within the price territory of wave 1, it's no longer a rule. It no longer invalidates the count if wave 4 doesn't end within the price territory of wave 1, which is kind of huge. So now that we have read through the changes in the rules and guidelines, what are we actually looking for in the charts? Here I have an example of a contracting diagonal based off the rule allowances for both the 11th edition on the left and the 12th edition on the right. Notice with the 12th edition, the wave 1 is longer than the wave 3, and the wave 4 does not overlap or end in the price territory of wave 1. According to my interpretation of the rule and guideline changes, this no longer invalidates the pattern. Whereas in previous editions, these rule breaks would assist in pattern confirmation or elimination. Even though the 12th edition variant isn't what would usually happen, it's still something to consider when looking at the charts. Here is the expanding diagonal variant. Again, with the changes made in the 12th edition, even though the diagonal on the right is not what would usually happen, it is still rule compliant according to the changes in the rules and guidelines. In summary, the biggest takeaways I have from these new rules and guidelines is that wave 1 can now be any size regardless of contracting or expanding diagonal variation, in comparison to wave 3, and wave 4 doesn't have to end in the territory of wave 1. So what these changes have done is made the diagonal pattern a bit more flexible in its interpretation, which in pattern trading isn't always a good thing. Due to these changes, a potential diagonal pattern will be a bit more difficult to invalidate and may take a bit longer to remove from the list of possibilities and probability, depending on the context and other means of possible count and pattern elimination. Like anything in Elliott Wave, in my opinion, the power is in the pattern adhering to more rules and guidelines than not, which can lead to confidence that the most likely outcome of a pattern or its most likely projections could play out. As always, again in my opinion, force fitting and finding the loopholes in the theory may not always lead to successful analysis. I would say looking for more traditional diagonal patterns to play out in analysis may be the safer, more conservative way to analyze the pattern. But if there's no other way to count it, and it adheres to the new rules and follows some of the guidelines, this could assist you in digging out a count to look for future projections and patterns in your analysis. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and if this is news to you, if I slept on this info a little too long, hit me up on X or in the Discord, and again, check out the links below. And thanks for watching.